Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Let's welcome our main speaker, Howard P.
That's getting to be a long step. My name is Howard, and I'm an alcoholic. Hey, Howard. Hi. Thank Jim for asking me to come and talk. It's an honor to be here. I used to live here. For a lot of you guys, they don't know me, and I know you. I know everything about you. I just don't know your name. I know all your deepest secrets, all of your fears, everything like that. Don't know your name. But I used to be here. At one time, I could say I had written all the formats for the Marina Center. I added 5-minute meditation to the moment meditation and the morning meetings. I switched that to 5. I used Dr. Paul's format, and he called me one time and said, "Who in the hell gave you permission to add the 5 minutes, and where is my cut on the pot?" That's 5 minutes, and he was an insomniac. Dr. Paul was, and just decided, hell, he wasn't going to sleep anyway, just going to start morning meetings, and thousands of people joined him in that. Anyway, I was, and I'm always grateful for John Brill. I don't know how many of you guys knew John Brill, but John built this building. He had an auto parts store next door, and he built this building so we could have AA meetings in it. And he had a restaurant on the second floor, lost tons of money. But he was happy cause his goal for this place was to have somebody get up and say, they're going to take a 20-year cake, and that they started their Alcoholics Anonymous program at the Marina Center. And people are doing that all the time now, and that was the goal, and that's what happened. I was born in Los Angeles 1,000 years ago. But I was raised in a little farm community about 45 miles southwest of Wichita, Kansas, an area that we thought was the Bible Belt. And when I got out of there, I found out that everybody thinks they're in the Bible Belt. Oklahoma, Texas, everybody, well, not everybody. California knows it's not in the Bible Belt. You seem to be pretty happy about that, too. And I understand your happiness, but so nobody knows really where the Bible Belt is, but I know that it buckles about 45 miles southwest of Wichita, Kansas, and the Methodist Church, where I started learning about God and the universe. One of the things that I learned initially, which has never served me well, was that I was separate from God. They told me God was up in heaven. One of the earliest speakers or somebody talked about knows that God's out there for them. And that's the way I looked at it for a long, long time, that God was out there for me. And when I was in trouble, I learned to pray, to beseech God in prayer to help me through the trouble. But as many, I never got it to work. I remember the first time I prayed, knew who I was praying to and what I was praying for. We prayed for it not to rain so that the farmers would be able to get in the wheat fields and harvest the wheat crop. We had to have a dry field for that. We prayed fervently for it not to rain. It rained that very day. It hailed that day. The wind blew and wiped out all the wheat in Sumner County, Kansas. And while nobody pointed their finger at me, I knew whose fault it was. I knew who wasn't doing what you have to do to have God answer your prayer. Now, if you're 4 or 5 years old and you've taken the responsibility, assume the responsibility for wiping out the Kansas wheat crop, what you have is an ego problem. And that's what I had. Assuming responsibility to get things done that I lacked the power to do. I don't know, I learned that. I learned that I was separate from God and I got to make my life work. It become kind of like a mantra. You put your shoulder to the wheel, your nose to the grindstone. The devil is going to take the hindmost. And the little train that could. Remember the little train that could? There's just one hill, I thought, just one mountain. That train says, I think I can, I think I can. I know I can, I know, In my mind's eye and in my belief, you just got one hill to climb. The little train just had one hill to climb, and when it made it over the crest of the hill, it was a downhill drag from then on out. And I wasn't about to give up. I was going to just keep, by God, pushing up that hill. And lack of power. Lack of power was my dilemma, but I didn't know that. I could not live my life in such a way that the pieces would fall together and I would feel good. Just couldn't do it. If I could just get you to do what I knew would be the best thing for you to do, and you'd do it, you'd be happy. I'd be happy. We would all be happy. Now, that's what I wanted. Of course, I wanted to be the authority that you worshiped and looked up to, but I wanted us to be happy, and I never was happy. My dad, get a little sympathy here. My dad was a German. He was an alcoholic, and he would, from time to time, beat me. I ain't the only one who's been beaten, but I was beaten. And I'll tell you this, I never got where I liked it. I understand there's some people here in California who like it. I don't know about them. I'm not like that. You whip me tonight, and I ain't going to like it. I don't think getting whipped makes you an alcoholic, though. Like I said, I didn't like my life. I didn't feel good about my life. And when I was about 12, 13 years old, between the 7th and 8th grade, I drank about a half a pint of whiskey. And I felt good. I just knew what it meant. I remember thinking, this is what they mean when they say, let's go have a few drinks and get the feeling good. Man, that feeling good was feeling good. Just ain't any other word for it. It was just something very special. In the back of the big book, there's a definition of a spiritual experience. Some of you guys don't know me. I give page numbers from the big book. I just make them up. You guys never check. And it adds credibility to my talk. They say he didn't. He wasn't a very good speaker, but goddamn, he knew that big book, didn't he? In the 4th edition, that's a confusing thing when they keep getting these other editions out. In the 4th edition on page 567, and on the 3rd edition on page 569, there is Appendix 2, the Spiritual Awakening. And the language they use to describe a spiritual awakening is something like a change of consciousness followed by a vast change in feeling and outlook. Now just think about those words. A change in consciousness followed at once by a vast change in feeling and outlook. Now is that about a half a pint? That was it for me. On that same page it says essentially that this feeling is frequently accompanied by a sudden spectacular upheaval. Mine always were. I'd drink that first half a pint, I'd get that feeling. Drink the second half of the half a pint, and I'd have a sudden spectacular upheaval. Never slowed me down. Norm Alpe, who I think is one of the best speakers in AA, Norm Alpe said you can't make it to AA if you don't work at that. You can't let a little throwing up slow you down. You got to hang right in there. I hung in there. I drank because it made me feel good. It made me feel like I was somebody and I could do things that I couldn't do when I wasn't drinking. But it was, for years, it was just fun. And I didn't get in any trouble to speak of except with my wife. And, but there was no avoiding getting in trouble with her because she's completely unreasonable. I met her, fell in love with her when we were in the 7th grade. And I loved her with all my heart. I still do. And I always have, except for the times that I hated her. And we got married when we were 20 years old, and we're still married. And I should have said we got married when we were 10, but and we've been married 52 years now. But Pat needed Al-Anon when we were in the 7th grade. And she never heard of Al-Anon until I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. Then she went to Al-Anon. But, and that was, I discovered, I got an entry-level engineering job at General Dynamics Astronautics in San Diego. And I was a process analyst. That was my job title. We analyzed processes. And I was good at this. I could figure out how the thing was supposed to work, and then I could figure out how it was working. And but they wanted a report, and I didn't know how to write report. Didn't know what the hell to put in the report. And one Wednesday night, I came home to work on the report, and I drank about a half a pint of whiskey. And I knew how to write reports. I knew what to write in the report. I drank the other half pint of whiskey, and I swear to God, I discovered a technical vocabulary that I didn't have before I drank the whiskey. It was truly like magic for me. And I wrote the report, and I took it back to work the next day, and they typed it up and circulated for approval. Everybody approved it that needed to approve it. And about the next Tuesday, my boss's boss came out with the report in his hand. "Did you write this report, Howard?" I said, "Yes." "We knew you could do it if you'd just give us the effort." I thought, effort your ass. I was giving you effort. It wasn't effort, it was whiskey. But I knew, don't tell him whiskey. Let him think effort. They'll pay you for effort. The important thing was I knew it was whiskey. And that's the way I wrote reports from then on. And I was a good report writer. Now I was a good analyst and a good report writer. And if you are, you go up a notch. There's new things now that are difficult to do at this new level. Aha! You discover you don't have to wait till Wednesday night to start the whiskey process. You can start it any day at lunch. And you don't have to drink whiskey. You can drink martinis, which I did. I started drinking martinis because I didn't like the taste, and I knew that lasted just about 1/2 an hour, and then I loved the taste of martinis. It seemed like nothing worked to control my drinking, and I worked at it hard. But I kept getting promoted, I went from a process analyst to an engineer to a senior engineer, left General Dynamics in San Diego and came up here and worked for Hughes Tool Company Aircraft Division as kind of a senior engineer and then an engineering manager. And that's not setting the world on fire, but that's a steady, progressive series of promotions that I got because I drank whiskey. Long about 1970, the responsibility was at a level where by the time right before then I got smart, my speech would be slurred. And there's a word called synchronicity that Carl Jung invented. Carl Jung told Bill in his correspondence that he couldn't use spiritual terms because he was a scientist and he'd lose credibility. And so he made up words like a collective unconsciousness and synchronicity, which he roughly described as a series of meaningful coincidences that seems to move life forward in an orderly way. Some people call it a God shot, but he couldn't do that. It was synchronicity. Well, I've always found synchronicity in retrospect, looking back at my life, and that's what we've got to share mostly, is just retrospect. What's going on in the moment, we don't generally have the first idea, but we can look back and say, oh, well, that's what happened, Well, my good luck, the series of meaningful coincidences was when my speech got slurred, I ran into a guy that sold bennies. And so I started taking bennies in combination with booze. It's the perfect mixture for every problem in your life, with the exception of controlling your body functions. It did not help you there. And if you take bennies and drink booze, you need help there. It's a bad deal, I tell you. My wife, 1972, she had to get twin beds. I got sober in 1972. That's 33 years ago. We still have twin beds. I mean, she lost her sense of humor forever. No, in 1972, my life went down the toilet, whether anything else did or not. It was just, I got myself in $2,500 worth of debt in 1972 that there was no money to pay. There was no money coming in to address that. Now, if you take $2,500 and you inflate it, that's over $25,000, at least in today's money. How'd you like to be sitting there as a $25,000 debt, and your wife is the bill payer, and she don't even know you owe that, and you don't have any money coming in to help? Hell, you got part of the money you owe to the credit union, and it's a bad life, and then your boss takes you out of management, cuts your pay 10%. What kind of an ungrateful son of a gun was he? And now my wife's going to leave. Talk her into staying. I'm going to stop drinking. Don't leave me. I'm going to stop drinking altogether. 4 days I go back to her and says, I don't want you to leave. I want you to stay. But if I can't drink at all, I guess you'll have to go. I love you. I love you, but I gotta have a half a pint a day. I've thought life would be great with me just having a half a pint a day. And I believe that.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
First thing I'd do, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'd go by the tattletale. I'd have 2 double shots. Now, those 2 double shots do not count on today's allotment because those 2 double shots is to get rid of yesterday's hangover. So those are yesterday's drinks. Then I would go by the liquor store, Albert's, and get a half a pint of Jim Beam, and I'd go out to Hughes, and I'd put the Jim Beam in the trunk of the car, and I'd just sip it. It'd be gone by 10:30. But my heart's beating again, and I'm thinking better than I was earlier in the morning, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm not going to drink a half a pint exactly every day. I'm going to average a half a pint a day. There's going to be days I don't drink at all. And there's going to be days when I don't even want a full half a pint. I got a good idea. I think I'll go get tomorrow's half a pint at lunch today and take a drink out of it. And that'll be all that's left. That'll be all I want tomorrow. Tomorrow's gone by 3:30. Get off my back. I'll drink if I want to. I ain't hurting anybody. And I'd go get the 3rd one. Then even if I had some of the 3rd one left on the way home, I'd get the 4th one. I'd get the 4th one and I'd leave the seal on it. So that when I got in the house, I'd break that seal right there in front of her very eye. God damn, it's a jungle out there. I'd drink that half a pint and I'd pass out. Well, I'd go to sleep on the living room floor. Eventually make it to bed. You guys wouldn't believe this part. The next morning I'd go to the tattletale, have 2 shots. Then I'd go get that half a pint because I swear to God, that was all I was going to have the next day. And day after day. And I just get deeper in debt and deeper in the hole. You'd think there's a bottom. You know, you think there's a bottom. There's no bottom. I can dig in deeper than that. Just give me a shovel, you know. Man. And I was under a lot of pressure. I had an opportunity, though, to sell some equipment that I didn't own. Equipment that I found right before Hughes lost it. And I got it out the guard gate and got it to a fence. The fence got it to a machine shop. I never got any money for it. It was always going to split half, but we didn't. And 10 days later, July the 23rd, I was in the Tattletale trying to line up some equipment sales with those entrepreneurs that hang out in the Tattletale. Booze and bennies had stopped making me smart. These guys couldn't keep a TV set tuned in so that you could see it. I don't know what in the hell I thought they were going to do with that equipment. Use it in their factories that they owned. Woke up the next morning and I was page 8 in the big book. There's no words to express the fear and that I felt in that bitter morass of self-pity. Quicksand stretched out in every direction. And it was quicksand, folks. There was no bottom. When I got demoted, that was a bottom. And if I'm on bottom a little bit, it occurs to me that hell, I can handle this. I think I'll drink again. My wife didn't leave me. She stayed. There's a bottom, and I drank again. But there ain't no bottom. The equipment is gone. I don't know where it is. It's calibrated test equipment. It's owned by the federal government. Its value exceeds the amount that would ultimately end up in investigation by the FBI. And I'm a candidate for hard time in the federal penitentiary, and my family's a candidate for the disgrace that goes with that, and there's no recovery from that. No recovery from that. And I don't like that, and I don't want that to happen, and I think I've got to stop drinking until this blows over. Guy I used to drink with in Tattletale named Kenny Sixberry. Kenny Sixberry left the Tattletale about 8 years before 1972 and joined Alcoholics Anonymous and became Kenny S. And we believed that he became the president worldwide of Alcoholics Anonymous. There were no losers in the Tattletale. We were all winners. And I got Kenny's number, and I called him Monday morning. I just drank a half a pint. And I called Kenny, and I said, "Are you still in AA?" And he said, "Yes, I am." I said, "I don't know if you remember me or not, but I'm Howard, and I'd like to go to a meeting with you sometime." He said, "Tonight would be the ideal time." I know, not tonight. Tonight's a bad night. No. Anyway, I ended up agreeing to meet him. He was going to come by the house and get me. And he said, "Are you drinking now?" And I just finished a half a pint, and right now I'm not drinking. So I said, "No." He said, "Well, try not to drink anymore." I drank 3 more half a pints. I took a lethal dose of Benzedrine, and by 6 o'clock, I don't know what the hell I'd called AA for. Things aren't that bad. I hope he don't show up, but he showed up in a pickup truck with a motorcycle in the back. I mean, what do you expect from the president of AA worldwide? And I got in and I said, "You know, I'm not an alcoholic." He said, "I don't know if you're an alcoholic or not, Howard. When you called, I didn't remember who you were, but I remember you. I recognize you. And we're going to the right place." I said, "Don't tell anybody that I'm going. Nobody that knows me. Don't tell them I went to AA." And he said, "I felt that way myself." He said, "I didn't want anybody to know. I wanted everybody to think that my life was screwed up, and I didn't want them to know that I was going to try to get it back together." I said, "I understand, but don't tell them. I don't want them to know." And he took me to the Culver City Studio Group. Used to meet on Waseca and what is became the Sons of Norway, Sons of something. I was warmly welcomed. I was telling some people today in the morning, you know, in the Tattletale, we used to have bumper stickers and stuff up, like, "You know your buddy's so brave and true, well, you get to him before he gets to you." Cheerful stuff. Nothing is as easy as it looks. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong, and at the worst possible time. To me, that was fundamental axiomatic truth about life and the universe. Life sucks, and then you die. We had all of those good things in there. And I learned, don't trust anybody. I just didn't trust anybody. But I came and Kenny introduced me to Frank Giroux. And Frank had a dour expression. He was a crabby looking guy. And he looked up and Kenny said, "This is Howard's first meeting, Frank." And Frank said, "Well, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. I hope you stick with us. I hope you join us. And I'll tell you, if you do that, you'll end up having a life better than you ever dreamed. And he never smiled when he said it, but he said it, and I believed that he meant it. I don't know, I think I know now why that happens. I think kind of God, if we can use the word, or higher power, or whatever, kind of gives you a freebie once in a while so that you can have some goodness for free, just to show you that the goodness is there, to give you a little encouragement to work for it. He won't give you all the goodness because you got to work for it. But I think that's what happened because I trusted AA. And you said wonderful things to me, stuff that I needed to hear. One guy said, when I said to him, I'm not an alcoholic, he said, I have a hard time believing I'm an alcoholic sometime, and I always go back out and drink. And I lose my house, I lose my wife, I lose my car, I lose my job, I lose everything. Except Alcoholics Anonymous is always glad to see me. And he said, you don't have to think you're an alcoholic to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. Fit me perfectly. That's all I wanted to do was stop drinking. I didn't want to stop drinking for very long. I just wanted to stop drinking until this blew over. So that fit me good. And but I wanted to stop drinking. And he said, your place is here whether you're here or not. Nobody can take anybody's place in Alcoholics Anonymous. Everybody has their place here. That's a tremendous thing for somebody to say to me, and it's a tremendous truth about Alcoholics Anonymous. And then the magic that we call the magic, I don't know what it's a very simple thing. All my life, people have told me what's wrong with me and what I better do to get my act together. People have told me, sit down, shut up, and listen. People are going to square my ass away. And not one time do I remember that helping me. I cannot learn that way. But I came here, and the subject that night, because I was new, was what's an alcoholic and how do you stop drinking? And Chuck Ennis, who some of you will remember, who died fairly recently, last few years, with 54 years of sobriety. Chuck talked about working at MGM as a film editor, and on his way home, just stopping by the backstage bar for 2 drinks, 3 at the most. Next thing you knew, it was last call for alcohol. And he was arguing with the bartender that the clock was fast. You got time to give me another double. He did that Monday night. He went back to work Tuesday. Tuesday on the way home, he stopped by the backstage bar to have 2, 3 at the most. You know, he's telling that, and I'm thinking, I'm like that. And then he said, I came to AA, and I found out why I was that way. I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholics are men and women who have lost the ability to control their drinking. Alcoholics have an insane, obsessive belief each time they start to drink that somehow, some way, this time, they're going to control and enjoy it. This time, they're going to just have 2 drinks, 3 at the most. This time, we're going to baby a half a pint through the day. This time. Have that insane, obsessive belief so that when they start it, that triggers a physical reaction that manifests itself in the phenomenon of craving for more once they start. And on Tuesday, when they start again, they can't bring their failure from Monday into their consciousness because of this insane, obsessive belief. And on Wednesday, that's my alarm clock telling me what time it is. That's my watch. Time got away from me there just for a little bit. But we were, you can't bring it in. And anyway, when he finished, I identified with him. And the other guys shared and I identified with them. And I talked to Kenny about, I don't remember experiencing a craving. And he said, there's a type of drinker who once he starts to drink, he slugs them down so fast that the craving don't get an opportunity to set in. And I thought, hell, that's me, you know. Second half of the meeting, they talked about God, and God was not going to be my answer. I knew that. And after the meeting, when we got in the pickup truck, I said, I'm an alcoholic, but AA can't help me. And he said, well, let me say this. When you got in my truck to come to the meeting, the first thing you told me was, you're not an alcoholic. And now you sit in one meeting, and you get in the truck and you say, you are an alcoholic, but we can't help you. And he said, that's the way it works. You change and you don't even know you changed. And you just got to keep fighting it until you stop fighting it. And you got to keep coming to do it. If I could convince newcomers of one thing, just one thing, it would be go to meetings. I wouldn't tell you to get a sponsor. I wouldn't tell you even to stop drinking. I'd just say go to meetings. You go to meetings, they'll tell you to stop drinking. They'll tell you to get a sponsor. They'll tell you to work the steps. They'll make you laugh. Flo D shook her fist in God's face, she said, and said, why me? Said a booming voice came to my ear and said, because, Flo, there's something about you that pisses me off. And Alcoholics Anonymous, one drunk talked to another. And, you know, I can't see myself. That's, you know, I'm in complete denial about me. Norm Alpe stands up and says, I wasn't a giver when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was a taker. I was a taker of things and a user of people. I was a loser. Takers are losers. You're looking at one right here. And when I heard him say that, my mind said, that's the best description of me that I have heard in so few words. You see, I saw me when Norm shared about him. If Norm would have said, Howard is a taker of things, a user of people, Howard's a loser, Howard would have been out of here. You cannot help me that way. You can help me the way you guys help me. Tell me about you and let me see me. I won't always see me, but I had never seen me before. And then they say, work the steps. Really take a look at yourself. Are you an alcoholic? Do you really admit you're an alcoholic? Have you based your sense of well-being, a sense of feeling good, on things being your way? Is that what you're depending on? Things being your way, and when they're your way, you're going to feel good. You lack the power, they say, to pull that off. Lack of power is our dilemma. I am a victim of the insane delusion that I can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if I only manage well. So I'd drink whiskey, get a good feeling, and then, by God, I'd manage it. I come in here and they said the only, whatever the solution to this problem, these insane problems are, has to be based on my coming to believe that some power greater than myself can restore me to sanity. Now later on in chapter 9, they say the spiritual life is not a theory. Well, let me tell you, it was a theory to me. It was a long ways from a conviction. But it was a theory, and somebody said, if you aren't working the steps, AA will stop being fun. The guy named Don Gates. if you're not, he said, if you're not working the steps, AA will stop being fun, and you'll decide you're not going to AA anymore. Not going to those damn meetings and waste my time. I'm not going to drink, but I'm not going to meetings. He said, you don't go to the meetings for a while, then you'll go order a drink. And if you do that and the bartender says, what's the matter? I thought you was going to AA. Don't AA work? He said, if you're not working the steps, be honest with the bartender and tell him you don't know if AA would work or not because you didn't try. I had nothing to pop off at that about. That night, I made a decision to do a 4th step. One strange thing happened to me. I always had my dad in my head, and my dad was my problem. Any problem was first my wife and then my dad, or my dad and then my wife. Pushed a lawnmower into a tree root and the bolt hit my chest and it hurt. First thing I said was, goddamn her anyway. She wasn't even there. But that was the first thing I always said. Then I added A in there, goddamn AA too, you know. And I did an inventory. And I think I did a good first inventory. But I know when I got through, I saw my dad wasn't my problem. I saw my dad died in 1951, and this was 1973. He may have caused me to be afraid, but he wasn't the problem. Fear was my problem, and I didn't know what I was going to do about it. I also knew that anger was my problem. I said, damn afraid I couldn't get out of my own way. And I said, be angry, and then I could fight. And then it wouldn't work out, but I could lie about it. So dishonesty is a good thing. If you're going to make your own life work and you're going to use self-will run right, lying comes in good. Dishonesty. Let's steal the damn equipment. That'll set things straight. And then when I did a 5th step, there were some things I had done when I was 12 and 13 that I was very ashamed of. And after I did the 5th step, those things had happened to a 12-year-old. They were no longer a part of me. What a deal. What a good deal. And my sponsor tracked down the equipment I'd stolen and sold and told me where it was. And my wife and I went to the bank over with Jefferson at the Studio Village, and we borrowed money from the bank and went to the machine shop. She sat in the car, and I went in, and I got the equipment back. Paid for it. Never got a dime for it, but I had to pay for it to get it back. And I took it to Hughes, and I took it to the department manager. Said, I stole this, and I'm bringing it back. He said, don't tell me that. Said, just be quiet and take it to the calibration lab. The next morning when I came in, he called me in his office and said, that equipment had been calibrated. It's in perfect working order, and I may not know where it's been. But I know it wasn't stolen, because if it was stolen, I wouldn't have it, and I have it. Our procedures don't provide for bringing the stuff back. So I don't want you to say anything to anybody about it. And I haven't. Except I mention it tonight for the new people. I think all the old people know this is true. But for the new people, if you will remember when you had your first drink of whiskey, say your first half of a pint, and you had that good feeling for the first time, it's a hell of a feeling. When I woke up the next morning after taking the equipment back, the weight of the world was off my back, and I had a good feeling. I don't know how long that good feeling lasted, but it lasted long enough to embed itself in my memory, so that in the mornings when I wake up, I'm always able to re-experience that. And if I can't re-experience that goodness, I can re-experience the truth that that goodness happened. And a hell of a lot of other goodness has happened. You just keep doing the deal and the goodness happens. Till you reach the point that you wake up feeling good and knowing you're going to have a good day. And by a good day, I mean a sense of ease and comfort, a sense of well-being. I don't mean the kind of good feeling you get off of morphine, but you don't need to feel that good. You don't need to feel that good. All you need to do is just feel good. And AA will do that for you. And I have come to believe that my life is in divine order, that my life is in God's care and is unfolding into goodness. And I know that every morning, and then I do a 3rd-step prayer and 7th-step prayer. My life is good. I had the best life of anybody you guys know, he said humbly. I am humble about my good life because I know where it comes from. When I was doing it, I was in the tattletale. That's when I was doing it. When I'm doing it, that's where it goes. I have a good life now, and I'm grateful. Reading a book on meditation, I've read a lot of books on meditation. It says, wherever and however you find God, that is the right way for you. If you figure God out intellectually and are convinced of his presence in your life, that's the right way for you to do it. Or if you're sitting quietly, you experience God's presence, that's the right way for you. But remember, wherever you see God pass, mark that spot and go sit in that window again. When I read that, I knew Alcoholics Anonymous is my window. This is the spot where I came to see God pass. I'm very, very grateful for this place, and I love you. Thank you for letting me share.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs, long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.